Right. So what did you do to come out of this, disaster to
Well,
become
look, there's a
profitable
couple
again?
things. Yeah, yeah. I mean, look. So we were always, profitable. It was just, but the problem is that we were taking that. So I liked. So what I try to tell people and CEOs is, you can get really enamored with EBITDA,
Mhm.
right? You can really get enamored with that operating income and EBITDA and those
Everybody
kinds of
talks
things,
about
right?
that, right? Yeah, sure.
Right. And so what I try to tell people is so that's fine to measure, but I
Mhm.
really want you to focus on measuring free cash flow.
Mhm.
And so we really, about 5 years ago, really 4 or 5 years ago, so we really started shifting our mindset to focus more on generating how much free cash are we generating in the business.
Mhm.
And we're generating, a few $1 million a year of free cash now into the business. And so that's really the metric we look at. But we weren't doing that before COVID hit. And so now if you look at where we are,
Mhm.
our gross margins have gone up by about 40%
Mhm.
across the business.
Mhm.
Our print mix went from about 35%, like I mentioned earlier, down to about 3 or 4%. So
Mhm.
that is a huge benefit to us in our margins. We have completely retooled and restructured the company and the team in terms of, everybody works from home now, so we don't have a lot of, when I joined hit the company, we had almost $2 million a year in leasing cost,
It's
in office
unbelievable. Yeah,
space,
right.
and that all goes away, right?
Mhm.
We had all this debt, and I
Mhm.
sold off one of the divisions, paid off all of our debt, so we have no more debt, so we don't have to service any more debt. So that's huge. But when COVID hit, one of the things you realize is that there's no case study to go read, right? There's no like I couldn't there's no Harvard case study on COVID,
Mhm.
right? There was
There
there's
will be there will be at some point.
there will be at some point, but
Right.
but that was the message I gave my team and
Right.
my guys. Well, I said, guys, we're going to be the case study, so let's go figure this out. And so we did a whole bunch of cool things, and I'll tell you about them in a moment. But I couldn't call a mentor, like I couldn't call Michael Dell because I used to work for him. I couldn't.
Mhm.
He didn't know what to do. No one knew what to do, right? I
Right.
couldn't call members of my board had no idea what to do, right? And so we went and had to go figure it out, and we kind of put on your big boy pants and you go figure it out. So some of the things we did was, everybody kind of started working from home, and we did our furloughs and layoffs. Here's the other thing we did. We didn't take a dollar of government money. We didn't take a dollar of taxpayer money.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people out there who did,
Yep,
and who
I
didn't
know.
use it for their companies. They used it for themselves, and
Mhm.
that to me is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so, but we did not take
That's the government
$1.
not knowing how to do anything, but
Right, and
that's for
so
a separate show.
right. But the point of it is that we didn't do it. And some people say, "Oh, we should have done it." And well, to do it or not do it, the bottom line here is that we were going to figure it out. So we did what we did.
Mhm.
We were able to bring people back within 6 months. We were able to restore a lot of the pay cuts, almost all the pay cuts within 6 months.
Mhm.
We started generating cash again. We worked with all of our vendors. One of the big things we did was we worked with all of our vendors, all of our vendor partners. And we went to them and said, look, here's the situation. We need you to come down in your cost to us by anywhere from 10 to 20%, or we're going to go out to bid. And Carol, 95% of them
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
The 5% that didn't were the big guys like a Microsoft or an Amazon Web Services, whatever. But you know what they did? They gave us 6-month payment terms. They
Nice.
gave us time.
Mhm.
They weren't hounding us. They understood. They let us go on a little payment plan, whatever the case might be.
Mhm.
But even then, there was. I mean, we only had one vendor out of all the vendors we went to, and all the vendors we work with across all the different companies. We only had one vendor that
That said
said
no.
no.
Yeah.
That
That's
said no.
amazing.
Now, fast forward 2 years later, and we had a contract, so we couldn't renegotiate that contract. We couldn't get rid of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
But they did do it now. They did it finally, but they did it 2 years later. So it's fine. But it shows you when you're a vendor to somebody, and that client comes to you and says, "Look, we really need your help,"
Mhm.
and you're unwilling to help, you're probably not going to be their customer for very long if you're
I
not willing
agree.
to
I
help.
mean, that happened to me with one of my vendors. And they were like, "Sorry, you have a 3-year contract." I'm like, "Okay. Well, guess who's not gonna be renewing at the end of that period?"
Yeah, yeah,
Me.
absolutely. So those are some of the things we did. We focused a lot on the culture. People
Mhm.
started working from home. We kind of did this mindset shift of, it's like, our attrition rates, fell to the floor because we really started to focus on, you really focus. The big shift we made internally in the company was, when you get on an airplane, what do they tell you? They tell you, look, in case of turbulence, a mask might fall from the ceiling. They tell you to put your own mask on first. And this is not a mask or not mask thing with COVID.
Yeah,
This
no,
is just
I get
about this is about the mask that
Yep.
comes from from
Right.
the airplane.
So that you
right?
have oxygen.
And right. So why do they tell you to put your own mask on first?
Because if you don't, you're of no value to anybody.
Right. And so that's what we did. So we said, you know what? So I made a big shift with my team, my management team. We said, look, we're going to put our own, I want each of you to put your own mask on first. I want a lot of mental wellness and self-care focus here for the team. And our internal customer is going to be our primary customer base.
Yeah. Good.
So our employees are going to be our first customer. Our external customers are going to be our second customer. Because if we can take care of the internal customer first, we will take care of the external customer. No problem. And that's really worked.
Yeah. So I'm curious because this is what my whole business is based on, is what it means to be talent centric, that your people have to be more important than everything. And I'm curious that you didn't have that epiphany until COVID.
Well, look, we always
that.
were there. So, we were always there. We were recognized for being a good place to work and all those things. It was always there, right? But we never measured it, right? We never made it a priority. We didn't offer mental wellness days until COVID happened, right? We didn't, for example, we started doing a paid day off for everybody to go vote.
Awesome.
on election day.
Yeah.
Every year, even in the off years. So it's all these things kind of came out of that, right? And so it wasn't that we didn't care about the employees. We did. I mean, our attrition rates were always pretty low, right? Our attrition rates were always less than 5%. Right now, our attrition rates are less than 2%.
That's fabulous.
In fact, when people leave us, they boomerang back in. So that's great. So we've always kind of been an employee-centric company, but it was never like, it was never like front and center, right? You know what I mean? But now, so over the last 3+ years, it's been real front and center. And, it's, and that was partly because of the fact that we are 5 or now 4 separate companies,
right?
That roll up to me. So I'm CEO of a holding company,
right?
And I have 3 actually division presidents, and those 3 division presidents run 4 companies, and then we have shared services that cut across HR, finance, IT that support those companies, right? And so they all have their individual P&Ls, but they're all at different levels of maturity, right? They're at different sizes, that they have different customer bases. So that becomes hard when so I'm not CEO of one company, I'm CEO of 4 companies,
right?
And I have to understand, and this is not a pity party. It just is what it is. This is just, I have to understand 4 different, employee bases, right? You have to understand 4 different customer sets. You have to understand 4 different investment theses, right? That are out there. So that's what it is. And so, when COVID said, at the end of the day, people just want to be respected no matter what it is. And so don't worry about all that other stuff. And so that's what we did. And, did I care? Do I care if the job gets done at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m.? No, I don't. As long as the job gets done.
Right. Carol Schultz here. Thanks for watching this excerpt from Authentically Successful. The conversation doesn't end there. So if you want to hear this episode in full and all my conversations with many other successful founders and CEOs, please visit verticalelevation.com/podcast.